Okay, so this is a entry for the last day of May, and some interesting things happened today. So this would be a diary entry for things that may help you if you're in your journey building an agency or dealing with building a company in this space. A couple of notes that I had today. So today was the first day we had a company get together for all of our employees. We have now 31 people in the company, and we had our first town hall, which was interesting. And I think I look back at the world of what this really means for an agency that's growing. We've been in this space for now 12 years, and thinking back, and I did the history of the actual company. We even talked about putting together an event. But the cool thing about it was that it really showed the progress of revenue generation. I didn't get into profits because profits are, up and down from a perspective of like what you make based off of like expenses and everything that you have to put in, including all owner benefits and stuff. So it's kind of difficult for me to talk about profits with the company itself because it's not really appropriate. In our case, we do split a portion of the profits that go back to our team, but reality is that the revenue spike happened in our company over the last 3 or 4 months because we actually changed the way that we thought about the business. We had been kind of looking at it from a broader sense perspective in the medical field, hitting all sorts of medicals, which for lack intensive purposes works fine. But then we found some specific niches that we're sort of digging out. I won't get into the details, but the concept is that what we found was that if we looked at a specific product within the niche of a category, so we sort of kept our niches wide, meaning they kept the general niche wide. Everybody gets in these niche discussions, and I almost feel like it's a redundant factor. Yes, you should niche, but not really to the extent of leaving yourself vulnerable. What you should have is multiple niches where you have success. That means if you go down a product line or you go down a niche line, if you're into one particular segment of a category, and in that segment of the category, there are lines of products like different services, and underneath the services, there's a category or a specific thing that's in there that is very, very unique to a customer. That's when things get interesting. So we've kind of concluded that having opportunities in these different categories has been interesting. So that's what caused the spike in our revenue is to kind of like dig into like a specific topic that's just one thing. It's not like a niche, it's a topic within a topic within a topic. And be very driven on just making sure that you mine that as deep as you can get. And that's what we've been doing. But the cool thing about the town hall, which was what I wanted to kind of continue the conversation, was you saw like 30 faces on a screen that were the people that were in our company. And I asked questions like, how many people here are new within the last like 30 days? And you see hands go up, and like, how about in the last 2 months? A lot of hands went up. So it's also the growth factor of people coming into the company. And again, I don't do all the hiring because my team takes care of a lot of the hiring because they're hiring for the departments. So what I'm realizing is that the company is growing on its own. I'm not necessarily in charge of growth now. I'm in charge of the leadership of where we're going. And that's a big change and if you think about the diary of what I'm doing right now, which is, we're at the end of May, or approximately $220,000 a month of revenue running. And you can't get your head around trying to manage all of that by yourself. So you've got to have team leaders that have capabilities to hire and don't have to ask you for permission. It's the same thing I've been telling ever since I started back in the days when, we used to um, I just didn't have time to get to everything. And I used to tell my second command, I said, just think about what I would do. Like, what would I do? And don't ask yourself, just say, like, what would I do in this position? You've known me for long enough. What would I do? And that solved like a lot of the questions of like how to make decisions. So I've been sort of thinking about like having these discussions with our team leaders to say, look, I want you guys to think one, how I would think about when you make the decision to some degree, but also to do a majority of the thinking on your own with knowing that I would, probably accept it. And even if I was, sort of questioning it, unless it was absolutely like something that, would be across my kind of um, cross the line theory that, the things can get done without me. And I think that's when things change in agencies, is that when decisions are being made without your knowledge, well, not knowledge, but without you needing to be involved. But the concept of that, now what happens is that growth now becomes organic. And and that's, I think, if you're looking for some help on how to sort of get through that next stage, is to allow people to break things and make mistakes and go through these things where other people on your team, you've given them permission to even fire clients, to do things that you'd normally do. I think these are the things, if you're trying to grow an agency to a good size, it's the relief of actually now allowing those things to happen. And I've watched good things happen, bad things happens, and eventually it sort of catches on, where there's sort of like a pattern where there's just ability for people to know what to do because they're used to the sort of internal scorecards. So I hope this helps in your journey, if you're watching this as someone who's interested in or listening to this, in your growth. And as we've kind of become more relevant to a more medium-sized agency, or I guess a multi-million-dollar agency, I realized that the more I make my team responsible, the better things get, because they end up being responsible for the growth of the company, and it's relying upon them to make good decisions. And when they're relying upon their own judgment, things get better. So you've got to have obviously good team leaders, but the moral of the story is that more thinking is better, and not having one position. I've always told my team leaders, I want you to tell me no. I want you to say, no, that's not a good idea. Or no, I don't want to do this. Or no, I don't want you to do this with the company. Because if it's just me making all the decisions, then we really don't harness the power of the groupthink. And I think that's one of the things that supports larger agency growth, especially if you have to get past that seven-figure mark. You're going to need to trust other people to make decisions for you. Anyway, so this is a journal entry for the last day of May and 2023, and I'm looking forward to doing more of these journal entries along with other guests and so forth, starting now, as I've kind of got myself thinking about giving back as much as I can to help other people who have helped um, as I went through my journey, who've given me advice, and the people that have worked with me. I owe a debt of gratitude for all those people that helped me, but I now need to do the same and help where I can.